Hey, Rip City. Welcome to the Rip City Community Pregame Show. I am Tara Bowen Biggs here with Dylan Sage, and we are going to give you some of the details that you need to know to get ready for tonight's matchup between the Blazers and Toronto. We're going to try to continue to bring these pregame shows to y'all. We're calling it the Rip City Community because we want to make room for other people to get involved. So before we get into the whole show today, we just want to let you know that you can connect with us over Twitter is probably the easiest way to do it.
Mhm.
I'm at TCB Biggs.
And
You
I'm at
are
Dasage, Dasage, and it's a happy panda avatar with wearing a Blazers hat.
great. So if you want to get involved or have any suggestions for us or ideas about things that we could do with this show, our goal is just to give you an alternative before the game to get caught up on, kind of the top details that you'll want to know before the game starts. So with that, tonight, this is a big, exciting game. The Blazers are playing Toronto today, Sunday. It's a 4 o'clock game. It's the third game in 4 nights in spring break happy Florida. Fortunately, they'll be heading home after this. But do you want to start by giving us the injury reports and the starting lineups?
So, a surprise injury for Nasir Little and his thumbs. Jamie Hudson reported that he will be out for tonight. And then, of course, Zach Collins with his stress fracture. For the Toronto Raptors, it's DeAndre Bembry, Patrick McCaw, and Watson. Uh, Sorry, I do not know his first name, and that's my bad.
So with the starting lineup, there's going to be some new exciting stuff happening with the lineup. Why don't you say who is going to be starting for Portland and what you
So
think about it?
it's official that it's Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum, Norman Powell, Robert Covington, and Yusuf Nurkic. And for the Toronto Raptors, it's Kyle Lowry, Fred Van Elite, aka Fred Van Fleet, Gary Trent Jr., OG Ananube, and Pascal Siakam. I hesitated. Was I going to say his real name or his nickname?
Van
Uh,
Vliet's.
yeah, Fred Van Elite.
Nice. Well, what do you think about that Portland starting lineup? Are you surprised? Or are you figured that's what it was going to look like?
Well, seeing how Norman Powell played with us, it was kind of okay. This adds another dimension to our offense. In the game that he played, he was able to shoot off the bounce, shoot from catching, and then he was a movement shooter. And having somebody that has those abilities matched up with CJ and Dame in the starting five is really dangerous for the Toronto Raptors and the rest of the league. So I really, really like it. How about you?
I'm personally a fan of the three guard lineup, and I know it can't be used, relied on too much, but I do really enjoy watching three guards. And I think it makes a lot of sense for Derek Jones Jr. to go help out with that second unit. He's so versatile. And I imagine there's going to be not a lot of minutes where it's just strictly this starting line. Like they're not going to like hockey
Yeah,
sub
yeah,
everybody. So there'll be lots of different lineups for us to watch.
absolutely.
And Gary Trent getting the start. I'm very excited for him. He got the start just the other night when the Raptors
Raptors.
played the Suns. So the Raptors are 18 and 17 right now. So they're 11th place in the East. They've only won 2 of their last 14 games. This poor team has been decimated this season. Between COVID, between not having a home, really, they're all living out of a hotel. It's just been a really, really rough year for the Toronto Raptors. But despite that, they still have some good players.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, and like I was saying, Gary Trent Jr. is now a starter. Super happy for him. In his debut with the Raptors, he played 31 minutes, had 8 points, 1 steal. He was 0 of 5 from 3, so I guess his shooting from 3 slump he's carrying over for a little while, but I'm sure he'll get out of it. Rodney Hood came off the bench. He had a couple of points and a rebound in 18. Sounded like pretty typical Rodney Hood minutes where he did a lot, but not a lot that showed up in the box
Mhm.
score. Um, so anyway, who do you think has the potential to take over for the Raptors on offense?
So for the Raptors, it's usually the three man of Kyle Lowry, Fred Van Elite, and Pascal Siakam. Normally are the three big drivers of offense. When one's out, the other two shine. But with all three healthy, it's just going to be a three-man attack of those I mean, if anyone's playing DFS in this really weird slate, maybe play one of them, but because they're all three together, they're just going to cannibalize each other's usage. So just look for those three to be the big scorers and big drivers of the offense for them.
And so, how about defensively?
I think that defensively, I mean, Fred and Kyle are great point of attack defenders. OG Anunoby is great at defense. You all know how Gary Trent is. And, he's going to be kind of hyped, I would imagine. And then Pascal Siakam at the 5. This is kind of a weird lineup because we do have a traditional center. So this might be one of those times where instead of playing Gary Trent at the starting 3, they shift everybody down and put Aaron Baines at the 5, just so they can potentially match up with Nurkic a little bit easier, because they've been they've been matchup dependent on who starts. So this might be one of those big lineups. So Aaron Baines or Chris Boucher might play. And I remember Chris Boucher had a really good game against Melo the last time we played.
Yeah, I think he scored 20 points last time. Well, speaking of last time these teams played, the Blazers escaped with a narrow 112-111 victory thanks to CJ McCollum. He had a last 10-second 3-point shot. They were able to hold him off to get the win. CJ scored 30 points the last time these two played. And they had to come down from 10 points in the fourth quarter. So which Blazer do you think has an opportunity for a good night tonight?
I mean, Dame and CJ, obviously, but I know Norman Powell really loved Toronto, so maybe he has a remember me game against his former team, just like Gary Trent also might have a remember me game after the trade.
It's going to be so interesting because the two fan bases were so fond of their players, and we're all still sort of like, we've been comforting each other over the shock of, losing guys that we really, really liked and had fun following. But I think that all ends tonight. We're done.
I think it might come back after this game.
Yeah.
I mean, Toronto has some players. They've done a really good job with their G League affiliate and scouting and getting legitimate players from, second round picks, just like our own Norman Powell. So this is a good team and a really well coached team. So just because their record isn't as excellent as last year or the year before, they're still very skilled.
Absolutely. Well, the Raptors this season, are the worst rebounding team in the league. Portland is not great, but they are better than the Raptors at this point. So how do you think they might use this to their own advantage?
I think we got to use our size inside, especially if they go with that finesse lineup. Like, punish them for going small against us. I mean, Yusuf had just returned. Enes Kanter is still a maniac getting those boards. He's just so smart and so adept at getting position and getting those rebounds. So we have to punish the Raptors every chance we get if they go with that small lineup, since we kind of have a traditional 5. So we have to punish them.
Use that size. Well, speaking of size, Yusuf Nurkic returned to the lineup on Friday. He started, played 18 and a half minutes. So what did you like about what you see from Yusuf Nurkic?
I think that he's just he's a better defender than Enes, who it's been known that he has his deficiencies defensively. So having a guy that can go aggressive and hedge really, really hard and force turnovers is really important, because, we kind of were just waiting for the opposing team to attack us. Now we can attack them and their ball handlers and try and force some turnovers, because, the Raptors made some trades and lost a lot of guard depth. So I don't know who their backup one is. So maybe try and pressure whoever that lead ball handler off the bench is and try and force some turnovers. I know Kyle Lowry's as steady as they come, so it's going to be hard to confuse him. But the rookie might be someone
I can't remember his name either.
Oh God, it's not Theo. It's I have his basketball card, which is really bad. But yes, so pressure the rookie Toronto Raptors point guard. who I'll look up right now.
The on Friday when Nurkic played, he had a couple of turnovers right in a row. They were both like he just threw it right into the hands of the other team. Is that something to worry about, or is that just him getting himself back in the swing of things?
So it's Malachi Flynn. I had to look it up. I
Thank you.
googled Raptors point guards and Malachi Flynn. I remember him. I remember liking him in the group of point guards where Theo and Malachi and Peyton Pritchard were. So I remember.
Shout out to him.
Yeah, yes. So you were asking about Nurkic. Sorry.
Yeah, he had a couple of turnovers that where he just like threw it right into the hands of the other players.
There were kind of some lazy passes that he threw, but you know, you got to take some time, especially like CJ hasn't been CJ consistently after his injury. So bigs, it takes some time for them to readjust. And luckily we have Enes Kanter that can, you know, be rock solid steady. So be patient with Yusuf. He's going to get back to where he was. And, you know, we just have to be patient with the big man.
Well, we talked about him a little bit at the top, but Norm Powell, he also started and had 22 points. How cool is that he got the franchise record for a player in their debut? I guess that was a debut after a trade, is what I was thinking.
Yep.
And he was 5 of 7 from 3, so that was very cool. A lot to like about his game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna twist the question just a little bit. It feels to me like right away he actually brings more to the team than Gary Trent did. Is that sacrilegious to say something like that? Are you shocked that I would say that?
I'm shocked that you would say that, but I'm not shocked that the words came out of somebody's mouth. I think Norman Powell is a better player currently than Gary Trent Jr. is. So yeah, he adds a lot offensively. He adds a lot defensively. You saw him do some really intelligent switches and like moving and boxing out and helping the helper out defensively. So I think Norman Powell, with his intelligence, will be able to help a lot offensively and defensively. You saw him do point of attack defense. You saw him play team defense. You saw him switch and help the helper. I really love Norman Powell. My brother made fun of me saying that I compliment Norman Powell the way that the Blazers broadcast compliments Melo. So I was talking a lot. I was talking a lot about Norman Powell. I said that he was the apple of my eye. So I really do love Norman Powell.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I think it was Olshey who said after the trade that, something about shaking things up. And I have to say that I'm sort of feeling that because I've for a long time thought when they either mix up the lineups or inject new players, it makes everybody have to pay attention a little bit more. And when you've been doing the same thing for so long, having somebody new that you have to like kind of help them out. I saw Nurkic going over to him and talking to him, helping him, when the playbook is really limited. So you have to focus on the things that you do well. I think it just kind of sharpens things up a little bit. So I'm excited to hopefully watch the Blazers reap the benefits of that type of, sort of vibe to the team now. It's like, oh, we got a new guy. We got to work him in. So we got to make sure that we're doing everything really precise.
Yeah, like Dustin in the Holy Backboard, my other project that I do, he brought up a guy named Aaron Nesmith in the draft process, and I poo-pooed him because of multiple reasons. But one of the main reasons was that I didn't think the Blazers offense could adapt to an off-ball shooter. But in game 1 of Norman Powell experience, they were setting some off-ball screens and letting him run and get to the open spot. You saw CJ McCollum hit him for an open 3 in the right corner. You saw Yusuf Nurkic set him some screens. Like, if the Blazers offense can adapt to a guy with the skill set of Norman Powell, I mean, that makes my opinion of this offense a lot higher because I thought that it was always going to be the 4-out Damian CJ attack type of offense. But if they can utilize some off-ball movement, it's going to be really beautiful. And maybe I was right about Aaron Nesmith, not this year, but maybe should have been a little less mean to him about the idea of an off-ball shooter.
Of working somebody in like that.
Yeah.
Well, there's 2 things that I'm really going to have my eye on tonight. One is I want to see if the presence of Yusuf Nurkic just being there helps keep people away from the rim. I'm
Mhm.
always anxious to see like who goes ahead and attacks when a big guy like that is there, and who's like, I don't think we're gonna go there today. I think we're just gonna go ahead and pass it out. So I'm gonna have my eye on that. And then the other thing is like kind of we were talking about earlier is just the interesting lineups that we're gonna see tonight.
Absolutely.
How about you? What are you gonna be watching for?
I mean, I got to see how that three guard lineup of Dame, CJ, and Norm kind of go together, because we haven't seen someone established like Norm with those two guards. So it should be interesting to see, okay, what can 3 20-point per game scorers do together? It's going to be an interesting study for this game and all other games, just to see how those three work together. And maybe it can be something that's sustainable for the future. Like maybe we go for that Norman Powell extension and sign him to a multiple year and run the three guard lineup exclusively. So I'm very excited to see those, and I think Rocco and Yusuf have to be big because we're running so small. That those guys have to step up and get as many rebounds as possible, because I don't, none of those three guards are that much of rebounders or presence in the paint. So those two, if those two step up, the three guard lineup is sustainable.
I think I like it when the things worked out for everybody. Mm-hmm. And I think that this trade is so, because I think it's such a great opportunity for Gary. Like, I feel like I was maybe sounded a little bit cavalier about like my opinion of like Norman Powell being better than Gary right now. But like my point on that was that, Gary's going somewhere where he can, develop or, get paid to go somewhere else, but like he's right at the beginning of what's going to be, I believe, a long career, and he's got a lot of room to grow and a lot of room to develop. Norm Powell might not have that much room to develop, but we know what he is. Mm-hmm. And we can depend on that right now, at least for the end of the season, and see what happens next. I just think it's an interesting move for both teams, and when you look at it, it makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. And I think Gary and Norm have a lot of similarities in their game. It's just Norm's older and has finally found consistency in his game where he can deliver, every game he's going to do something to help you win the game, where Gary Trent, it was a lot of scoring dependent and defensive stats that like could help the team. So in a few years, if Gary can get that consistency of contributing, I mean, it's going to be huge for Gary. So I think that he has a wonderful opportunity with a really great organization. And then Hood still has a role because they traded so many players at the deadline, because there was a potential, Kyle Lowry trade that they were going to have to take on players. So they traded Terrence Davis. They traded Matt Thomas, thinking that we were going to get an influx of players. Well, that trade never materialized. So that now Hood has to play minutes, and now it'll be a time for him to prove that he's worthy of them picking up that extension and maybe even giving him another one or showing him off to the 29 other teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be fun to watch tonight. I hope the Blazers are able to come out with a win. I feel like they are poised for that because of, like you were saying, their size advantage, and also like what I was saying before, just needing to like pay attention. And we all know that when they pay attention and are focused, they can play defense. Mm-hmm. Like when they need to, they can turn it on and they can do it. And so I feel like this might be a situation where they can turn it on and they can do it. But really all that matters is that they have more points at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. That they just score one more.
Absolutely.
Well, that'll do it for getting ready for today's game. So thanks everyone for listening. We are posting this on the YouTube channel, so you can go ahead and subscribe and get asked to be notified for when we post the new ones. Our goal is to have them a couple hours up before the game, so you can find out what to watch for, go about doing your old thing, and be ready to sit in front of the TV when Brooke and Michael Holton are about ready to start their show. Do you want to tell people where they can find you and your work?
Absolutely. So you can find me on Twitter at Dasage, Dasage. Happy Panda is my avatar. And I'm also one of the hosts of the Holy Backboard, Portland's most consistent in terms of episodes. I don't know how to describe it. We have more episodes than anybody else.
You got hundreds.
We got 231. Awesome. Tonight we will be recording our 232nd. And then, I want to thank Gary Trent and Rodney Hood for, their dedication, their their blood, sweat, and tears, their passion. Thank you for dedicating those years to the Portland Trailblazers. It was really awesome to see how dedicated and passionate both of those players were to the team that we all love.
Well said. Yeah, once a Blazer, always a Blazer in our hearts. And welcome, Norman Powell. We are excited to see where we go with you. I can be found at TCB Biggs on Twitter. I am also co-host of the We Have a Take podcast and the Step Back Sisterhood. So again, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.